The harder the conflict, the greater the triumph.
A fiercest serpent may be overcome by a swarm of ants.
Lead me, follow me, or get out of my way. Age wrinkles the body, quitting wrinkles the soul.
Battle buddies.
Battle buddies. All right, Spencer, how you doing today?
Doing good, dude.
Yeah.
I was telling you earlier that I got half of my mouth numbed up for some deep cleaning at the dentist. And part of me, now that I'm older and I've gotten tattoos, when they take that needle and kind of go deep into the gum, part of me kind of likes it.
You like it now,
A little bit. I understand that it's necessary and it's just a deep pain that I know is beneficial for me. So it kind of, I do find some semblance of joy in it now.
Yeah.
Whereas a kid, I avoided it at all costs.
You know, I hate when I get tattoos and they put that stupid numbing agent on.
They do that for tattoos?
This guy didn't ask me and he put it on and all of a sudden I wasn't feeling anything. And then when they do the wipe, and the wipe's my least favorite part, and I couldn't feel it, but I could just sense that my skin was falling off. It was way worse than a pain that I'm familiar with. Everyone has had a bad pain on their arm, and that's totally normal, but that numbing agent on the tattoo is horrible.
I'm trying to figure, I don't know if I've ever had that.
Maybe it was super sketch. I'm pretty sure it was an after hours deal that I got
He put Bengay on there.
Yeah, shit.
Some icy hot.
Definitely waited till we closed at the shop and then he did it. But it was probably fine.
Yeah, they look great.
I'm alive.
They look really
I'm still
good.
here, guys.
You're doing fine. There's
fine.
worse things that have probably entered your, I want to say orifice, but I don't want to say orifice.
Don't say orifice. I think more importantly, there were worse things going on in the world today.
There it is. There it is.
Planned.
I always, while we do these current conflicts things, and we do our studying of what's happening on planet Earth, I do have to say, I was listening to some stuff while I was working out today, and I was like, it's kind of refreshing to realize that the United States isn't the only country on the planet.
When we're not the only ones fucking up.
No. No. Even when we try to help other countries, it turns out we're not the only ones that are doing that wrong either. But we'll get into that.
Yeah.
We'll get into all of that.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to Battle Buddies.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. This is At Ease.
At Ease.
What's At Ease, Spencer?
At Ease are relaxed conversations, stepping away from our historical deep dives into battles, and we kind of just have a relaxed, fit conversation about what's going on in the world currently. Because it turns out the whole idea of war and people fighting each other is not going away.
Not going away. It's been around for a while.
Yeah, and still going.
I like that you say it's relaxed because I definitely get more heated on these than at other times.
Yeah, when we talk about history, it almost seems like it's not real.
Yeah.
It's oh, this is a story someone wrote. It's weird. You want to start with, sir?
Yeah, I got something to start with. So, I've been learning about Lebanon, and as a preface, we'll just say confusing. So, I was really hitting the books today as the most stereotypical white suburban dad in history, and it was my father-in-law and me and my sons and my wife in a kiddie pool. And so my father-in-law and I are sitting in lawn chairs, and our feet are in the water. We're drinking a beer.
May I ask what beer?
It was Make America Juicy Again.
Oh, perfect.
Of course it was.
Shout out to Heretic Brewing Company from Fairfield, California.
Just doing great work.
Yeah.
And he's retired airman, and I was asking about Lebanon and Hezbollah, and he told me everything. So I know that the capital is Beirut. I know that he thinks... No, I'm going to say he knows for sure because he said don't quote him on this, so I'm going to quote him on this. He said, for sure, 100% guarantee, the last attack from a U.S. battleship ever was on Lebanon.
From a U.S. ship?
From a U.S. battleship.
Oh, interesting.
Because he
Does
said,
he know when?
well, he's not even sure it really happened, but
Okay.
I really wanted to put those words in his mouth. He said that because after, Leyte Gulf's the last clash between
Right.
battleships,
Mm-hmm.
and so then they started decommissioning one. I guess they recommissioned one, put some modern guns on, sent it over the Lebanon, just fired off a couple shells probably. Anyway.
Yeah, there's also the famous Marine base that got bombed in Lebanon, I believe or in the same kind of vicinity as Desert Storm.
Okay.
80s.
I don't know about that. 80s was wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cold War stuff, bro.
Okay, so Lebanon's a place. Confident of that. We looked at our 5th grade classroom globe, Spencer and I, today to make sure we knew where it was. It's in the world. Where did we say it was above Israel?
It is north of Israel, yes.
It's north of Israel. That's important.
It is actually.
It is important.
And super topical with what I have to talk about today.
I'm excited.
Yeah, perfect. Unrehearsed.
And I just want to ask you, Spencer, because my father-in-law made sure that what he told me was, you should ask Spencer. He was an intel guy about Hezbollah, because the intel guys used to have to give him reports on it 20-something years ago. But then he also said, I'm also old, and they may not be talking about them anymore.
Hezbollah has come across some briefs that I have heard. I did not personally give. And I was telling you a little bit earlier that one thing that I definitely did and got really excited for when I got out of the Marine Corps and was done being an intelligence analyst was something called a data dump, where you just get hammered for 10 years and try to forget everything that you learned.
It's not where you try to poop out all the data that you've gathered.
No, all the secret stuff that you like, oh, I need to eat this. We don't have a shredding machine. Yeah, no, it's not that. It's nothing like that. So
it's a lot sadder, it sounds like.
Hezbollah, when you say that, is kind of more like an acid flashback for me.
Okay.
There's bits and pieces there. I just
the
can't.
Beatles are like popping in
Exactly.
and out. Okay.
Yeah, Sergeant Pepper is definitely there, but I'm not able to kind of talk about it with like an educated mind.
Yeah, me either. So let me talk about it for a while.
Educate me.
Yeah, so it seems like they were bad.
Oh.
And then there's been some interesting things at this last Lebanon election, but before we go into that, what happened recently was America's war on terrorist financing, which is far more specific than America's war on drugs, which I appreciate. It announced that it had added the names of Lebanese businessmen and businesses to its blocked persons list. And I'll go through kind of what that means. So according to the Treasury Department, light was shed on Hezbollah's financial activities, which are camouflaged as legitimate business transactions to generate income and to increase its investments in the commercial sector to fund the organization's activities. Essentially, they're just calling them out. Like, this is how criminal organizations get money and are able to do terrorist acts, and we have proof of it now, and so y'all can't do any business anymore.
This is like their banking system?
Yeah. Well, these are the shell organizations. So they're saying that these companies, and I'll list a few of them.
Please do.
So the companies sanctioned were the United General Holding, United General Contracting Company, United General Offshore. All these sound really real. All these definitely don't sound like what I would make for my fake business. United General Services, really specific. I appreciate that one. Al Mukhtar Products, that one could be real. Focus Media Company, Offshore, and United International.
United General Services.
Yeah,
what do you guys do? Just general service?
What about United General Offshore? What do you guys do? Well, it's offshore. You have any other questions?
It's a generality. We're speaking only in generalities. Okay.
And then there was a response from the guy who holds power of attorney for the General Holding Company. And he's like, this is fake news. These are false claims. And we are planning to disprove them. He didn't disprove them. And he doesn't have any evidence to disprove them. But he said, we're planning on it.
It's on the to-do list.
It's on the to-do list. Anyway, that seems like a big deal, right? Like, I feel like whenever we're reading about these things, and we're talking about Letty Gulf right now, and all of it's about like oil and like Japan can't manufacture. So it seems like hitting a ton of these shell companies would be a pretty devastating blow to
You know,
criminal activities.
I appreciate how you and I have been covering a lot of this global information, because today I was kind of learning a lot, kind of like this Hezbollah thing, where you kind of just got right down to the business and you were like, "Oh, bro, oil." That's
Right.
you know, that's where your mind goes.
Yeah.
But it seems like a lot of news and media is like, "Would you like to hear a really long emotional story about this?"
Right.
And it's like, not really.
No, I just want to know what's going on.
Yeah, thank you. Exactly. And so I really appreciate that you and I have been kind of doing that lately, and I'll get into that a little bit. But
Okay.
I mean, I'm reading here. I got a website up that says, "What is Hezbollah?" And it says that it opposes Israel and the Western powers operating in the Middle East, and it functions as a proxy of Iran, its largest benefactor.
Yikes.
Hmm.
Those aren't great sentences.
You said that Lebanon recently had an election.
Yeah. So election day in Lebanon, May 15th. We're just finding out about it now, but Hezbollah did well. They did really well. And
Well,
so hold on, I have the charts. I
While you're
went through
looking at
them
okay, go ahead.
because I wasn't like believing it. Okay. So Hezbollah in for like seats, right? Kind of like a House and a Senate thing, right? They have these different seats, and that's how you get a majority. Then you can create the new government, essentially. That's how their Lebanon's government functions.
Okay.
And I'll go through the years, and you'll see that it gets more depressing over time. So in 2009, they won 26 seats. In 2018, they won 29 seats. And in 2022, they won 37 seats. So they're going up. And just for like some context, the next highest one is the National Freedom Movement, which won 16 seats. So clearly, the Hezbollah is doing very well in Lebanon.
Yeah. So I'm on the Council on Foreign Relations website. 3 bullet points here at the top of the page. Hezbollah wields significant power in Lebanon, where it operates as both a Shiite political party and a militant group.
Yes, it's both.
Separate idea here. The group has faced unprecedented scrutiny from the Lebanese public amid the country's political and economic crisis. Which it sounds like you were just talking about some of the...
Yeah. It's weird. And it's hard because like I had no context really for Hezbollah. And so I'm reading through some of it, and it's like, and they banned old people to go vote. And I'm like, that's cool, man. And then like I'm learning more about the establishment. I'm like, oh, man, that's not as cool.
I love so much how much you're giving everyone the benefit of the doubt. You're like,
yeah, get old people to
you're
vote.
like, dude, look at this ISIS page. They're just eating bread, bro.
That's good rhetoric. Yeah, and you said Shiites. So just so we're all clear, when you look at the data, this is my point here, is for the Shiites, Hezbollah and its allies had absolute control over the Shiite vote and took 100% of the vote.
100%.
100%.
So
I've never heard of something like that.
Passing grade.
Yeah. Oh, got it. And they... Yeah, I don't know how you get 100%.
Corruption,
Yeah.
forced
lot of
voting has something to do with that.
Baked goods, like some...
That's
baked
it.
knives, yeah.
No one's pointing a gun at someone's head and being like, "You're gonna vote this way."
Oh, man. There's some other stuff. I won't get too into it because I get too confused. But there was a lot of the people coming out, the politicians coming out and saying, like, you know, celebrate correctly. Don't go too far, guys. But then at the same time, there's like all these like obvious, I don't know, aggressions against Israel. And they're like, and one of the notes in this report says they just think it's letting off steam. Like they don't count that as like part of the don't make too big of a scene when you're celebrating. Like don't make too big of a scene. But yeah, go fuck with people in Israel. Like that doesn't count. Like that's how messed up this worldview is right now.
It's really interesting that you chose Hezbollah, because my second conflict today is going to be we're gonna dive into the Israeli and Palestine conflict.
Okay, well, we're gonna solve it.
Oh, wait.
That's what you promised me before we started.
I
recording.
only come up with solutions.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bring up a problem and not have a solution, Kevin. I'm an adult. But we're not going to start there because we need a moment to chill from. I mean, you just started hitting us with Israel. So, you got to end with Israel, right?
Right.
So I'm going to start with Venezuela, our neighbors to the south.
Okay. What have they been doing since that Parks and Rec episode?
Is there a Parks and Rec episode?
Is it Venezuela? Am I racist right now? Was it not Venezuela?
Thinking of Puerto Rico?
They had a sister city. It's fine. The early Parks and Rec.
All right. It's been a minute since I've watched that because that stupid Peacock
dude, the streaming service
ruined everything for me. And I was like,
terrible.
cool, I can't just go on Netflix and watch The Office now while I fall asleep. Anyway, I digress. So I was telling you earlier, how I kind of appreciate that you and I go about news from a different perspective and being like, can we just talk about the resources involved in this country
Right.
or the ideals that they're like
Right.
conflict? Yeah. I was diving into Venezuela and everyone was like, well, so it's emotional and blah. I'm like, I don't want to hear any of this.
Right.
Don't appeal to emotion on
Exactly.
me. All right. Like, let's get down to brass tacks here.
Where's
And
the supply line?
that's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of stuff that I want to hear. So the United States has been hearing a lot about Venezuela and its instability, specifically using Venezuela as a centerpiece for talking mad shit about socialism. I don't know if you've heard any of the talking points for typically a lot of libertarians will be like, oh yeah, you're a socialist? Look at Venezuela. And it's like, wait, what about it? And they're like, well, just look at it. And you're like, can you explain it to me? No, look at it. You got to look into it yourself. And you're like, all right, I didn't know.
From how far above Venezuela did I look at
Is
it?
this a bird's eye view? What's going on here?
Gorgeous country, it looks like.
And so I was like, but why do we care about Venezuela so much? Like, what's going on with our interest in Venezuela? And I should have started with this question, but I think it's going to be a pretty obvious answer. And I didn't know this, but I'm sure everyone on the internet who's listening is like, well, I knew that. But
actually,
do you know where in the world has the largest oil reserve?
well, now I'm going to say Venezuela.
South China Sea. No, I'm just joking.
The Suez Canal.
It's Venezuela, which for me was like
The largest?
ding ding largest, more than Saudi Arabia and more than Russia, and
Whoa.
Venezuela.
Whoa.
Yeah, and Venezuela has been selling oil to America for 100 years.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wait. So I went to Long Beach State. Like very international.
Is that like right next to Venezuela?
Well, it's closer. It's closer than here, right?
That's true.
A very international school. And I remember we did have some dudes that were partying with us for a couple weeks. And they were from Venezuela. They're training to become engineers.
That's
And
tight.
I remember someone saying in passing something about them being like, yeah, but these guys are assholes because they're just getting degrees to go back and exploit more of their country resources for oil. Like they're part of that family that does that kind of thing.
So yeah, I'm taking.
And I ignored that at the time because I'm like, they're
That's a
kind
real
of cool.
thing.
I don't know if they're that person or not. Like they could just be a normal
So that's
person.
called migration remittance.
Whoa.
I'm taking
Whoa, look at that.
I'm taking a global migration class right now. So that's why that's a lot of this stuff about refugees and things of this nature have been really fascinating because I'm learning about it from a actual quote educated point of view. But
So, okay, is that when you go out of your country to get educated and then come back?
So not only is it when you go out of your country to get educated, you also have the privilege of having family send you money to make sure that you're going to be supported while you're in a different country.
Okay.
Now, sometimes this can positively affect the country that you move to,
Right.
but in this case, what you're talking about is the sending country is just the person is going to be going back to Venezuela, right?
Right, yeah.
So then the sending country is completely benefiting from that
Yeah,
entire
absolutely.
move. So that's interesting because not a lot of the people in Venezuela, like the refugees, have that privilege
Right.
of doing that.
That's what was stressed on me, and I just at the time did not catch that at all.
That's what
I was just trying to get a beer. Like
That's exactly right. I was just gonna say, dude, you're not doing. That's not supposed to be going on in your mind at that time.
Yeah.
Hold my beer. So years of economic mismanagement and corruption under the president Hugo Chavez led to Venezuela's almost complete dependence on oil exports.
Not a great start.
No. No.
Not a great start.
So in 2014, which I don't remember this because I don't know. I just wasn't paying attention to this, but there was a global oil collapse of prices. And there was a rapid economic decline in Venezuela because they were completely depending on their oil exports. Okay. So after Chavez's death in 2013, the then Vice President Maduro assumed the presidency and was subsequently elected into office. Now, his government attempted to address the economic crisis by printing money.
It usually works.
That always works, like the Federal Reserve in the United States. The policy resulted in hyperinflation. So by 2014, large-scale anti-government protests erupted across the country, and in 2015, voters expressed their huge dissatisfaction by electing the first opposition-controlled National Assembly in 2 decades. Now,
Okay, that sounds okay.
uh,
It doesn't get better. It doesn't.
so this causes mass refugee migration to neighboring countries trying to flee the collapsing country.
Okay.
Okay.
So you have all these people with some means, and like the status quo is gone, so they have to get out now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Forced to. That's the thing is when you hear the
I
word,
would tell them to leave. Like, you gotta go now.
the thing is when you are what is called a refugee, that's just forced migration.
Right.
That's a really nice term for like, oh, we were forced to move.
Right.
I'm seeking asylum.
Yeah.
Right. So Maduro was reelected to a second-year term in May of 2018, despite boycotts and accusations of fraud in a widely condemned election, including by a group of 14 neighboring countries known as the Lima Group, and was officially sworn into office pretty recently in 2019. So 2 weeks later, on January 15th, the National Assembly declared Maduro's election illegitimate.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so there was the opposition leader who also led this illegitimate election of Maduro, announced that he would assume the office as the interim president. And
What a nice guy. He's doing everybody that favor.
now this is where it gets interesting. So this interim president, his name is Juan Guaido. The United States, Canada, and most of the European Union call this guy the legitimate president.
Whoa.
Yeah. Now, on the flip side, Maduro retains support from China, Cuba,
Holy shit.
Russia, and Turkey. So you got completely different sides of the world here claiming that there's one legitimate president in Venezuela and the other claiming that there's Maduro and Guaido, excuse me. And I apologize if I'm mispronouncing any of these. I think it's important here to remember and kind of go back in time and think about the Monroe Doctrine from President
Think
James.
about it every morning when I
Yeah,
brush my
dude,
teeth.
me too. I mean, just so I don't sit here and be like, oh yeah, the Monroe Doctrine.
Yeah.
I had to look it up
I was like,
for
just,
this
just
conversation.
pretend I don't know it off the top of my head.
So the Monroe Doctrine was when James Monroe warned European powers not to attempt further colonization or otherwise interfere in the Western Hemisphere, stating that the United States would view any such interference as a potentially hostile act.
But also don't look at the ones that we have.
Right. Right. So at the
It's
end,
a fair point.
It was basically saying it's kind of got the NATO vibes.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
if you mess with our neighboring countries, you're messing with all of us.
Yeah.
It was a huge ploy to be like, can we just stop fighting for a second
Right.
and have some open trade routes and chill for
Let's
a sec?
all get rich.
Let's all get rich. So fast forward to the end of the Cold War and the dawn of the 21st century, the United States reduced its military involvement in Latin America while continuing to assert a powerful influence in the affairs of the region. At the same time, socialist leaders in Latin America, such as Hugo Chavez and Maduro of Venezuela, have earned support by resisting what they view as United States imperialism, reflecting the complicated legacy of the Monroe Doctrine and its defining influence on U.S. foreign policy in the Western Hemisphere. So when I was saying that China and Russia are all on board with this dude Maduro
Right.
in Venezuela. Venezuela is using their oil on the global stage to sway different things, such as monetary gains. Like China is giving them money for, if they're like, hey, if you can just slip us some oil here once a minute, we will give you some money and fund your government. That's conflicting for the United States because we have the Monroe Doctrine where we're like, hey, but we're supposed to be taking care of you so that nobody comes across the ocean and is messing with you. Like, you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. And by you talking to China and Russia, that's kind of like crumbling this whole Monroe Doctrine thing. And Venezuela's like, you guys wrote that with a feather. Like, to quote Joe Rogan, like that's written so long ago. Like, I don't understand why that's a big deal. So Venezuela sends out oil and receives military help from Russia, which deeply complicates our foreign policy.
What do they need the military for?
All the
unrest?
Yeah, the civil unrest from all the people living there. And at the end of the day, what do people want? That good oil, bro.
They love it.
So I have here just 2 recent headlines to kind of just show what's been going on in Venezuela and where we're at today. So May 14th, Venezuela plans stock sale and break from socialist model. So because of their economy is collapsing, the Venezuela government is seeking private investors to pump funds into vital but crippled state-run companies decades after seizing them in the name of socialism. So they're trying to actually buy stocks and get involved in the stock market. But it's kind of hard to do that when you have the United States not really on your friendly foreign side. And you're a socialist country, by the way.
Right.
Which I'm not saying is good or bad. I'm just saying it's a thing. And then on May 17th, we have the Biden administration will begin to ease some energy sanctions on Venezuela to encourage ongoing political discussions between President Nicolas Maduro and the opposition. So I think Biden is trying to keep open conversations with Maduro, even though we straight up said that we don't view him as the president, which is interesting.
That's like some double speak.
It is some double speak shit. But again, it's all politics for the oil that they're sitting on.
Yeah, absolutely. When you were talking, so do you think it's literally just both like candidates just went to either side of the divide in the world and just of the powers and like, I will give you this many barrels of oil, and then the other guy went to Russia and China was like, I'll give you this many barrels of oil, and then that was it, and then now we're just in that lock.
I mean, that seems kind of like that, right? When you have the day after this Guaido, let me see, I'm making sure that I say that correctly. He's the guy who took over Maduro. But the day after he tries to assume control, you got the vice president at the time. What's homeboy's name from Indiana? Our previous vice president. Trump's vice president. What's it? Pence.
Yeah, Pence. He's a guy.
Yeah, he's a person.
Yeah.
He was like, we absolutely view him as the president, and he has our support, and God bless America. And so again, that's because you're right. It was just like, do you guys want some oil still?
Right. I got a ton of it.
Yeah. Apparently we are sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just think it's interesting that Russia is helping out Venezuela and China. And now Venezuela is trying to get involved in the stock market. It's a sticky situation over there.
It is.
Yeah.
It kind of shows perhaps like a unique flaw in like the vision of the Monroe Doctrine, which is like no one colonizes these poor, helpless countries. And then the country's like, actually, I'm pretty good. Like, I'm straight. Like, I can make deals. And they're like, no. You're helpless. Like, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
And nor should you. We will provide the aid, friend.
And I think it's fair-ish to have Venezuela say like, oh, the United States imperialism.
Right.
What do you think all those military bases around the entire world are?
Right.
It's just little pieces of our
It's a bunch
footprint.
of hugs.
Huh?
It's a bunch of hugs. We're
It's
trying to
just-
hug the
that's
whole
it.
world.
Hey, it's we're just here to help.
Every
Like-
day at 6 a.m, they have all boots lay on the ground. and they just all hug at the same time.
Hands across America. So that's
We're
Venezuela.
so close.
Do you feel like you know more about Venezuela now, or are we more confused?
You know, it's not as bad as some of the other ones.
Hezbollah.
It's not as bad as the Kurds. Still, I'm on the Kurds. Like, I don't get it,
Yeah, the Kurds thing is messed up.
but kind of still confused. I feel for the normal people. Again, the bakers of the world. The guy or girl getting up at 3 a.m. to bake some delicious bread, and they're just like, "Who's my fucking president?" Like,
Yeah.
this is really intense. Are they gonna bomb this city? Like, does my bakery get bombed in this for
Yeah.
no reason?
Yeah. And if you're the Kurds, you're not even thinking, who's my president? You're like, where do I live?
Yeah. What's the name of this country today?
Yeah. I'm confused where I live.
Dang.
Where you at, bro?
All right. I got a couple things for ISIS stuff.
Send it.
Overall, got positive. Like, we'll start with the positive. The volume of ISIS activity has decreased again. So,
From last week?
yeah. Well, from the last couple weeks, like, it's going down a little bit. It's been good.
Globally.
Globally, yeah, sorry. People have died. This week's been terrible. But grand scheme of things, I look at the graph every week of all the ISIS attacks, and we had that spike after we killed their leader, like a couple months ago, and been like steadily declining.
That's funny because you read something that day that was like, we've never been stronger and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's like, and you and I were like, bullshit.
Yeah, that sounds like someone who's hella scared.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go into the hearts and minds, the Al-Naba. So the Al-Naba is this is ISIS's weekly like telegram. It's really fun to read.
What is the plural of ISIS? ISI?
Icy? Okay, so yeah, last week's when we were reading it, yeah, it was all about like you have to commit fully, right? If you don't commit, polytheism's gonna take over the world. Like,
It
it's
already
a
is.
big stretch. Like,
You're already dead, friend.
yeah. So this week's is titled "The Truth About the Believers Standing to the Test Through Jihad." So it emphasizes the value of jihad as an expression of sacrifice for the sake of religion and adherence to faith. It's like, that's strong rhetoric, but also what a Hail Mary. Like, please do a jihad. Like, that's all I hear with that, like, please. And they're going to go even more to it. In the article, it's going to say, Allah put man to the test in order to examine the depth of his faith, and jihad is the test of his faith.
Are you reading Dune?
Right? Like, are you serious? Like, okay, let's see. Then it goes further. This part's interesting. And the writing is way better than you think it would be. The author ends the article by claiming that the jihad fighters are a lamp that illuminates the way for future generations, and they are the greatest devotees to Allah. So essentially, like, they're so strapped for getting people to do it. That's how I'm interpreting this, that they're like, you that do it are the best among all of us, and I'm willing to say that now. Because before it was, you are some of the greatest, and you are close to me.
You're here for us.
Right.
Now it's like, you guys, we couldn't have done this without you.
Couldn't have done it without you. Like, keep giving more and more power to this, like, positional authority to this group because you need it. Because the group dies. Like, it's such a stupid, in terms of like a military, like, it's horrible, right? Like, I'm trying to recruit these people and then they have to die to do the act, and then I don't have them anymore to do more of the acts.
What's the incentive for people to join with that business model?
Yeah, a terrible business model. They should get sanctions on that. We should sanction ISIS.
Yeah, they would go for it too.
Don't buy ISIS's Pokemon cards anymore, guys.
I'm trying to imagine Pikachu with like some ISIS propaganda on it.
I bet they would not be above that.
Just imagining a 7-year-old in the United States like, Mom, can I get this? It's worth $70.
So the assessment that this report views, which is, again, I look at the Global Jihad Network. That's part of one of the Israeli situations. And I agree with their assessment. This is another attempt by ISIS to emphasize the importance of jihad to recruit fighters in light of signs of weakness that ISIS is displaying in a large portion of the arenas. Like, they are clearly getting weaker and freaking out. And I think this is also because ISIS, out of all the groups, is the most legitimate to their detriment.
I got to be honest, this feels like a too good to be true scenario.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. It's hard because you want to be hopeful. Like, oh, maybe
This is great.
maybe one of the groups is kind of like slowing down. Or better, like, 'cause I don't want to just like kill everybody. I'm just hoping less people are joining them.
My mind's saying, like, what time of the year is it?
Right.
Is this like I don't feel as though violence would be making a lull right now
No.
in the summer.
No way. Summer is your most violent month.
It's going up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Across
people-
America, violence is
Heat, bro.
Yeah.
We've talked about this.
Woo.
People get violent during
they
the
get
heat.
violent.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay, and we're gonna end by playing a game called Spencer Reacts to Complicated News. Now, Spencer, your job is to react as quickly as you can.
Do I use words or noises?
You know, you can say yay or boo.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let me make sure I get all my facts straight here.
Did you have like a Price is Right, like "Doodle-doodle-doodle, come on down"?
Yeah, you didn't hear it, but there is an intro that just played, and it was awesome.
You killed it.
Yeah, I crushed it.
Love it.
So, senior Boko Haram commander.
Not into it so far.
No, that's a boo for sure.
Okay. Boo.
Was ambushed and killed
Yay.
by ISIS operatives. Yeah, that's all I got on that one. It's super confusing. This is more that complicated Splinter Cell shit that we were talking about.
Do you watch Futurama?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the Amazonian women episode when they're like, "Death by Snoo Snoo"?
Oh yeah, that's exactly what that is. Yay. Oh no. Yay.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. So, senior Boko Haram commander was ambushed and killed, and I was like, cool. But then it was by ISIS, and I'm like, why? Why is that? Is that good? Is that?
I have
bad?
conflicting
Yeah.
feelings.
And then I felt bad because his escorts were killed too, and I was like, those guys probably were just
So
normal fools.
ISIS killed Boko Haram, but ISIS kills and violence are down.
Right.
Maybe they were all focusing on this Boko Haram kill, bro.
Maybe. Hey, that's where they need to
It
focus their
also
energy.
goes into what you were saying when I was like, are Boko Haram and ISIS different? You're like, bro, what kind of question is that? Now we have the answer. They fucking hate each other.
They hate each other. Well, and can you guess what area in Africa this is taking place?
Chad.
Lake Chad. Dude, all I know is that when I go on a vacation to Africa, I'm not going to fucking Lake Chad.
I just love how much we're learning.
Yeah, seriously.
This is great.
No, so no for Lake Chad for me for our summer vacation.
Yeah, maybe stick to Lake Havasu.
Lake Havasu.
I don't think there's
That's
a
got
lot
its
of
own
ice.
issues.
Yeah, not ISIS.
It's the woo, the drunk girl call. You just hear it and you're like, oh, that's a drunk girl call.
Yeah.
But then Hannah, I always make fun of the drunk girl call, and Hannah reminds me, but they're out to have a good time, and they're making everybody else feel a little bit better about getting a little more drunk.
fair
It's fair.
point.
I'm still gonna make fun of it.
Yeah, it's yeah.
It's sometimes too loud in a movie theater to do that. A funeral is not the place to do your drunk girl call. Unless it's the funeral of senior Boko Haram commander, Umatama.
Full circle. Well done, Kevin.
All
Man,
right.
I was worried there and I hung on and it was worth it.
Yeah.
Alrighty. All right. So we're done with
Yeah.
Hezbollah and ISIS.
There were some IEDs in it, but it's super sad. More. I don't like IED explosions.
You know what? We should just have, I'm not even joking. We should just have an entire episode dedicated to IEDs.
Seriously, like
Yeah.
all the different, like I always want to read through all the different reports we got from people because like it was fascinating. And every time I look at them, I'm like, there's not enough information here because it just says it was activated, and like I need to know more
Yeah.
about.
I would love
this.
to do an episode on IEDs.
Yeah,
we'll
it's a
do
good
that.
idea.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
Oh, it's good to make jokes with IEDs in them.
Boom. Gotcha.
Oh, God.
Okay, that's those weren't great, guys. Sorry.
We're sorry. It's fine.
Yeah. So, Israel and Palestine.
I skipped over Israel and Palestine.
Yeah, I feel like I should have, and then I started, and I was like, well, we're in it.
Do you want to know why I skipped it? It's because at first, when I was reading it in my head, I was looking through and I was like, okay, I could probably talk about this. And then I realized I was saying Pakistan in my head. And I was like, I'm so far from being able to even talk about this that I'm calling Palestine Pakistan in my head. So I'm good on it.
That's fair. That's fair.
So I'm ready for some education on it.
Okay. Can you please make sure to stop me at any point if there's questions? I got things up that'll answer our questions.
Yes.
Okay. In the beginning. This is one of the longest running and most controversial conflicts on the planet. And I think that it is important, prior to me really diving into this, to let the listener know that Kevin and I are here just learning and talking about this, meaning we are not taking a stance on the matter. We are merely reading literature and talking about it as silly dudes.
Yeah. I think we both don't like having strong opinions. I go between being like a straight up communist and a libertarian multiple times a day because I think like, yeah, like my son should learn to fend for himself. And then like when he's hungry, I'm like, I will give you food.
Yeah.
Like, I should just give everybody food.
Right. I am so middle of the road, and sometimes I try not to be, and then I'm like, no, you know what? Let me just shrug my shoulders.
That is also a good point.
Right. Never thought of it like that. Alrighty. It's important that I prefaced that with that
fair.
because this is a really sensitive subject.
It is
turns
really
out.
sensitive.
And just to like let you know how sensitive it is, like I remember in the 6th grade, there was a girl in my class that would constantly wear T-shirts that said "Free Palestine."
Yeah.
And I didn't know what that meant until literally yesterday. So you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like it's a big deal.
One, just for I think to help listeners too, like I like when we say like email us and stuff, like we genuinely like to learn more. And
Yeah.
so like when people send us like, hey, like have you thought about this side? They send us an article or something like that's cool because we still want to keep having the conversation. And if like we got something totally wrong, like we do not mind during an at ease to be like corrections. Like
Yeah.
these are things we got wrong.
Yeah.
Because we're still growing and this isn't a political speech for like an overwhelming strategy that we're gonna use to conquer the world. This is like you said, I thought you said it really well. We're just trying to learn.
Yeah. One of my buddies who listens to our show, he likes to text me throughout his listens and correct us on everything, and I love that. I love all of that. But again, at the end of the day, this is for entertainment.
Right. Exactly.
This is for entertainment, and it's supposed, and hopefully along the way you find some stuff mildly interesting like we do.
Yeah.
Anywho. So essentially what is happening in the Israel and Palestine conflict, in the most basic of observations that I can say, is that Israel and Palestinians are arguing over the same piece of land.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you know that?
Just because of the
Hezbollah?
Hezbollah. So I was reading their mantra thing about it's time to go home or something like that.
Dude, you're gonna need to. This is gonna open up a huge dialogue because of all your stuff on Hezbollah. So Israel is the world's only Jewish state, located just east of the Mediterranean Sea. Palestinians, the Arab population that hails from the land Israel, now controls the territory that is referred to as Palestine. And they want to establish a state by the name and all a part of the same land. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is over who gets what land and how it's controlled.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Does that
was
make
good.
sense so far?
Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
So you have two different people. They both want the land, and they're fighting, literally fighting, in like every possible way over who's going to get that land.
Essentially.
And how much of it. Okay.
And I'm trying to make this really basic because it's one of the most confusing things on the planet.
It's so confusing.
Which is why I think a lot of people are discouraged to even learn about it.
Right.
Okay. The disagreement started when the Ottoman Empire and the British Empire tried to make territorial lines after World War I that nobody ever really agreed with. Does that sound familiar?
Say it one more time.
The disagreement started when the Ottoman Empire and the British Empire tried to make territorial lines after World War I that nobody ever really agreed with.
Is this a Kurd thing?
Okay, so that's exactly where my mind went. All these white people tried to be like, you guys have this land now, and you have this land now, and everyone's like, the fuck? You're fucking this up. You blew it.
Yeah, this is like first wave feminism stuff. Like, I am going to liberate you, women, and the women in the other countries are like, I'm chilling. Like, I'm having hella fun.
Right. That's I could talk about that,
Yeah.
but okay. You're opening up a can of worms.
First wave feminism. Feminists you guys are third wave. It's fine. It's different waves.
So I'm going to say the word. I was literally reading in the internet. They were referring to Jewish people as Jews, and for me, for some reason, deep down inside, that feels really bad.
I don't want to say that on my podcast.
So should I just say? What should I say?
Well, you can say whatever you want.
I think with the last name Schultz, I probably shouldn't say Jews. All right. So the Jewish people fled European persecution, which needs no explanation. And the territory at the time was largely housed by Arabs and Muslims, which caused conflicts because both cultures claimed pieces of Israel as their own. Now, today's lines largely reflect the outcomes of two wars, one waged in 1948 and another in 1967. Now, it's important to understand that there was more than just two. There's
so many.
Dude. I'm not even exaggerating when I want to say hundreds.
Yeah.
Okay. The 1967 war is particularly important for today's conflict as it left Israel in control of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, which we hear about a lot on the mass media mainstream stuff. So these are two territories home to large Palestinian populations. Today, the West Bank is nominally controlled by the Palestinian Authority and is under Israeli occupation. Confusing. This comes in the form of Israeli troops who enforce Israeli security restrictions on Palestinian movement and activities, and Israeli settlers, the Jewish folks, who build ever-expanding communities in the West Bank that effectively deny the land to Palestinians. So it's interesting, right? So this is land that is housed by Palestinians, but there's Israeli security forces there.
Huh.
Which sounds pretty
Sounds pretty tense.
Like,
who are they getting to live there? Like just desperate people, just like poor, desperate people, and they're like, you have to go occupy this land.
I don't think...
Is it like westward expansion stuff?
Dude, no, I think that it's kind of in the same vein as like the Kurds, where it's like they don't have a lot of options.
Oh, okay. Like this is where
Should
you
they be like,
go.
let's just go to Lebanon?
Right.
So, Gaza is controlled by Hamas, which I just recently found out is an Islamist fundamentalist party and is under Israeli blockades but not ground troop occupation. So, the primary approach to solving the conflict today is a so-called two-state solution. Remember, I told you I was only going to come with solutions.
You said that.
Yeah. So here's our solutions, Kevin, for this Israeli-Palestine conflict. The first solution is called the two-state solution.
If this is a Democrat-Republican solution, like I got bad news
that would
for
be
them.
best case scenario for this. That would establish Palestine as an independent state in Gaza and most of the West Bank, where they're currently at, right?
Okay.
So it's like, okay, you
So
guys
they're
have
already
it.
there.
You guys have it. It's yours. All right.
Man, squatter rights stuff is like so strong.
Right. Squatter rights. It's mine now. I've been here for like a week.
But through the history of the world, like being there matters. You know, like having your home. Like this is where my house is.
I mean, yes, dude. I mean, a lot of people would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you're Native American, unfortunately. It didn't go well for them because
we're just bringing up a lot of negative energy today.
I know. I was in such a good mood before we started too.
Yeah, you're talking about sipping beers in a pool with your... Okay, anyway. So Gaza and the West Bank are the Palestinians, and the two-state solution, this leaves the rest of the land to Israel.
Okay.
Which is the majority of it.
That's a lot of it.
It's a lot of it, yes. I can show you a map if you want, and I'll post some stuff on the internet for folks to see. The alternative to a two-state solution is a one-state solution. This one's fun. This is where all of the land becomes either one big Israel or one big Palestine.
They flip a coin. How are they doing this? A game? I would do it. High risk game. Roulette.
How would
wheel.
that go on Civilization, right? I'm just going to rename this. I'm just going to put my cursor over it, and
exactly.
it's now called Israel. Oh, and they're not happy. Oop, it's okay. There's a lot of fighting happening.
Right?
So, what are the main problems? There are a number of issues which Israel and the Palestinians cannot agree on.
Wait. Those are our own. Those are the
Those are the
greatest
solutions.
minds of the modern world. Because I know NATO. I've been reading about NATO's wargaming tactics, and they're doing all these
Have you?
theoretical ones. And they like when they were working on. Do you know like General Anaconda or something like that? He wrote this like
His name is General Anaconda.
Right? It was like that dude.
Badass.
Since
That's
the
his
day
birth
he
name?
was born,
God.
he could be nothing but a general. He comes from a line of General Anacondas,
General Anaconda sounds like a pretty badass porn name.
right?
Ooh,
Awesome.
Here's the General Anaconda.
Anyway,
I cannot accept you.
so he has this really intense name, but he made it's called like the donut, and it's I know, right? And it's like a
Hold on.
yeah. Seriously, look it up. It's like an infographic.
We're talking
of
about
like,
General Anacondas and donuts?
Yeah.
And this is wargaming with NATO?
yeah, it gets weirder from
Mm.
here. It's an infographic of like how to handle and like effectively communicate with people in like the Middle East and such. And it's actually pretty good.
Okay.
And so what they do is they use this as like the base, and then they create these elaborate teams, and then they have supercomputers run simulations after the people, like so the people will say like the actors will say something, and then they'll like do a negotiation or something, and then they're like, would that work? Is that how that would work? And then they run it through all the supercomputers, and then they use this guy's infograph as like the algorithm, and it's awesome. Like
Yeah, dude, that sounds hella cool.
Yeah.
Where have you been reading this shit?
that was in the wargaming manual that I read for
Interesting.
Defense and Ministry. And that's the stuff that I'm allowed to read. So like it has to be
Yeah.
more intense than that.
Yes.
My point though is that's millions of dollars. That's years of research. They're quoting the research back to the Blitzkrieg, and they're talking about, how to do these like Socratic things. And the best they could come up with is either you share it a little bit or one person gets it. That's their solution. Is it going to work?
Yes.
I'm so disappointed that's what we came up with.
Dude, this is a...
I could have done that without a supercomputer.
Hey, man, like the Big Lebowski said, there's a lot of ins and outs and a lot of what have yous.
Jesus.
Okay?
This is such a yada yada. So like yada yada yada. One of you will get the state. Like,
Well, dude, so, okay, what would you... Here, let me explain some...
sorry,
of the-
sorry. You can keep going.
No, you're good, because I like what you're asking here, because this is the most ridiculous thing on the planet. It's like, okay, children, but I'm going to give you a number of issues here that's not very long, and then I want you, Kevin, to provide me with the President Kevin's solutions.
Yeah, I'll solve this for everybody.
Okay. So here's the number of issues that Israel and the Palestinians cannot agree on, and
Okay.
you're going to figure out the solution. All right, ready?
I have kids. I'm a teacher. I got this.
What should happen to Palestinian refugees? Whether Jewish
Difficult.
settlements in the occupied West Bank should stay or be removed, whether the two sides should share Jerusalem, and perhaps most tricky of all, whether a Palestinian state should be created alongside Israel. Go.
Well, the anti-fragile in me. Choices, they're paralyzing, friends. Whenever you have too many, like for food, ordering food.
Netflix movies.
Which Netflix movie? So what I have is a random number generator.
Do you?
And whenever I
really?
can't, whenever I can't choose, or I'll try to make myself do it a certain number of times, and I'll like see how many items are on the menu. That's how many random number generators I have. Click it, and that's what I order. No more choices for non-essential choices like what to
This
eat.
is an anti-fragility thing?
Yeah, you talk about like being paralyzed by like non-essential choices.
Do
I
you
think
not like making choices?
I don't mind making choices when it seems important, but sometimes it seems like it's wasting my cognitive energy.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
I love it when other people make choices for me.
Well, that's what it's awesome when other people decide
This
things.
is like one of the main reasons I got married. Aaron's like, "Do you want to do this?" I'm like, "Pfft, Let's go.
Yeah, seems like you got a plan.
Yeah. Yeah. She's probably doesn't even realize how spoiled she is because I'm just like, sure.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
What do we get to do tomorrow? Oh, that's awesome.
Bro, I listen to other couples talk and I hear the husband be like, well, I feel like we should paint it this color. I'm like, you're doing this wrong.
So, like, I don't know, with serious things, why not play funny games of chance? Because there's no right answer here, right? That's the actual answer. There's
That's
no
cool.
right answer.
There you go.
And so let's flip coins.
So, peace talks have been taking place on and off for more than 25 years, but so far,
It's going well.
Not solved the conflict. Now, this is where I want to open up things where we get a little bit more broad here, and I'm actually really excited to tackle this question, and I'm really curious to hear what you say, and I'm very excited. Why does America love Israel so much?
Yeah.
And when I say America, I'm referring to the United States.
We do, huh?
Yeah, why?
I don't know. If you say it's oil, I'm going to freak out.
Well, okay. So I think that answer kind of you let me down a little bit. But I was born, or not born. I was born, but I was raised
One day.
Yes, I was raised in a very Christian home, so I feel like there was definitely a huge romanticism about. I mean, can we just let's talk about the elephant in the room here. The Bible sort of takes place in Israel, no?
Yeah.
Most of it. In the Middle East and Israel and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Does that not take any significance for the United States?
You think that's why?
Okay. Let me explain it. Let me put it to you this way.
I'm not getting this.
I once asked a person whom I love very dearly, and I will not name names, but a person that I love who's very close to me, I said, hey, what would happen if we woke up and Israel was gone, blown off the face of the earth? And this person was like, oh yeah, that means the world's ending.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude. People view that as the Holy Land.
Yeah. It's pretty important to a lot of people.
Yes. It's legitimate. There's so much significance for so many different religions, including Islam, Christianity.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of contention in that little tiny piece of land, and I think religion has a lot to do with it.
It would be all of it. Yeah.
Most of it.
It's hard because I'm such an idiot. I figured out that okay. I view religion as a history and my faith as a faith, and those are separate things. But I don't think that what you're saying, or I think what you're saying is that's not the case for everybody.
You're being logical. That's not. You're being too logical.
Yeah. All right.
So why do we send Israel $3 billion a year?
Is that a lot? Okay, I also struggle with billions of dollars because I'm a teacher and I'm like, I feel like you don't send $3 billion our way, but they may. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. So my idea of why America loves Israel so much,
yeah,
and I was kind of hollering this with Afghanistan, and is the dispositional convenience, meaning look at what is surrounding Israel. If we're funding specifically their military with $3 billion, so they're doing a lot of technically, quote, fighting for us in that area. Let me look at a map here. Thank you. Look, Kevin's bringing out the globe right now.
The globe's back out. So you're saying this is like a proxy situation?
We are surrounded by, it looks like Syria is to the north of Israel, Lebanon as well.
Lebanon.
Iraq is to the east.
Saudi Arabia.
So Israel
Egypt.
is a nice little chunk of land that we can have a nice little stronghold in.
And this time I know for sure, pretty close to the Suez Canal.
Correct.
And that mattered. The Suez Canal pumps out a ton of money.
Okay. So is the Suez Canal south? This little canal right here?
It's that canal. It's
directly like where it points at it?
Yeah, it's the very tip.
So it's huge.
Yeah.
and you got Egypt. So it's a pretty important little spot here. I feel like that's pretty huge for why we would like it so much. But I think and again, this is why like I like you and me where we're talking about this, because if this were the news, it'd be like, it's God's land. And it's like, okay, dude, but I get it. Yes, it's God's land, but there's also natural resources there. And what natural resources do they have? I looked this up because I was like, what's the main export coming out of Israel? Any guesses?
Jewels.
Diamonds.
Is it diamonds?
Yeah, dude. You're so good at this. Diamonds are their main resource and export, and then they also have oil naturally. So yeah, I mean that's where my mind goes. I don't want to sit here and be like, it's just so important and stuff like that. I don't know. It is. It's a really touchy subject, folks. So anyway, recent headlines. June 2nd. That was, as we record this, 7 days ago, about a week ago. Israeli forces kill 4 Palestinians in 48 hours. Israeli forces kill 4 Palestinians. Israeli forces kill Palestinian woman in occupied West Bank. She was 31 years old and was shot in the chest at Arub refugee camp. Israel says she tried to attack a soldier. In a statement, the Israeli army said, an assailant armed with a knife advanced toward an IDF, which stands for Israeli Defense Forces, soldier who was conducting routine security activity. However, witnesses told the media that the person that was watching that there was no threat. Witnesses saw the whole thing go down and said that it was pretty much murder.
Yeah.
She was leaving her home on her way to work. According to eyewitnesses, the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights has noted in reports that Israeli forces, quote, often use firearms against Palestinians on more suspicion or as a precautionary measure in violation of international standards. Israeli forces have killed 59 Palestinians since January 1st. A string of Palestinian attacks since March have killed 19 people in Israel. That's not great.
I don't love that.
No, dude.
No.
That's not fun for me.
Ooh.
That sounds shady.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good.
June 8th, yesterday, the UN mandated rights inquiry rebukes Israel for seeking, quote, complete control. Israel has no intention of ending the occupation and is pursuing, quote, complete control over what it calls the occupation Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem, which was taken by Israel in the 1967 war. Israel withdrew from Gaza in 2005, but with the help of Egypt, clamps down on the borders of the enclave now governed by Hamas Islamists. Palestinian authorities have limited self-rule in the West Bank, which is dotted with Israeli settlements. Hamas, which is sworn to Israelis' destruction, opened the May 2021 war with rocket attacks, following moves to evict Palestinian families in East Jerusalem, and in retaliation for Israeli police clashes with Palestinian near Al-Aqsa Mosque, Islam's third holiest site. The Gaza fighting was accompanied by rare street violence with Israel between Jewish and Arab citizens. These are the people we're funding, just FYI.
This is crazy. It's so sad. Like, the people that are in the conflicts are clearly radicalized.
You think the Israeli Defense Forces are radicalized?
I think everybody in this conflict is radicalized. If you can't talk about it with people, it's radical. Like, it's a radical situation, right? Like, it is the definition of it in my mind. If I can't have a conversation with somebody about this conflict without them freaking out,
that's a good point.
Then, like, you're clearly in a fanatic state. And I'm not saying that you're right or wrong. I'm just saying that's your emotional state. And to me, it just sounds like the leaders are exploiting the people because there's generations of violence. And so it's so easy to get people fanatical because
it's been going on forever.
Yeah, that police officer or that IDF guy, he probably has a relative who died from the other side.
That's a good point.
And so how much did it really take to push him when you're talking about multi-generational
Nothing.
conflicts? Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
But I just don't think the leaders care that. I think they care about getting the more positional authority
It's
and
just
more
old news.
wealth. Yeah, but like, it's terrible. At least Xerxes was honest. Like, like I keep coming. I was talking about it. What was happening? Oh, Hannah wanted to, like, we're trying to get our son to sleep through the night better, and she's like, well, what if we get him a pillow and say that it was my pillow and I'm giving it to him? I'm like, well, then he can't be an ancient Persian, and that's a big deal to me because we can't lie.
It's embedded. For those of you who don't know what Kevin is talking about, part 1 and 2 of Thermopylae are live, and you can go listen to those
They're great.
episodes.
Ancient Persians, they didn't lie.
They were a bunch of Jim Carreys from Liar Liar running around. I can't lie. So again, I preface with the whole Israeli-Palestine thing, saying that I'm not taking sides, but I will say that my eyes are a little bit opened, and it's pretty interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I feel as though I can actually hold a conversation about it with folks who do have an opinion on the matter.
Yeah. There's questions that should be asked as people. Like, we should be
Well put.
asking each other more of these questions.
Well said. Mm-hmm. Is that, do you have anything else to bring to the table on current conflicts, sir?
No.
Hezbollah.
Hezbollah. Wait. I do have one thing on Hezbollah stuff that was related to what you're saying. So the Hezbollah operatives, so this is part of the Israeli-Lebanese border issues that I was talking about.
Yeah.
I just wanted to quickly relate it back to the voting so that we look like we had planned this out ahead of time. So Hezbollah operatives took pictures of themselves near IDF posts at Har Dov, and they were waving inked fingers because Lebanese fingerprints, they fingerprint their ballots when they sign them.
Oh.
And then 2 of them wore Hezbollah campaign hats. And so they're like going up to IDF spots, having inked fingers, taking photos of it, selfies, and posting them. And like, that's like exactly what you're talking about right now. Like, everyone's just like propositioning and like aggressing, and it's rough right now.
Inked fingers. That's interesting.
It's pretty badass. That's a pretty cool symbol.
That is really cool. Like, we voted, motherfucker.
Like, I don't so far I don't love Hezbollah, like what they're about so far. Maybe they're less radical. And they did just sanction a bunch of them. But
I just love that Kevin wakes up every day and says, I give everyone a fair shot. The benefit of the doubt for all mankind.
you have to.
And womankind.
Well, you don't have to. Lots of people don't.
No. I wouldn't imagine they do.
I have to.
Yeah. Kevin put on our last episode a little poll question on Spotify asking folks what current conflicts would they be interested in hearing about.
Yeah.
Email us or go on Spotify and figure that out.
Yeah, answer that.
Answer it.
Well, we put some. You should have. The Letty Golf Part 2 should be out, and there's a poll attached to that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that'll be cool.
Neat.
It'll be about. So we'll get to talk about next time when we do Part 3 if people felt that Halsey ordered the code red or not.
There was somebody on Reddit that I told our next episode we put Halsey on trial. I was like, oh, now I'm even more excited. He was really excited. He was like, I really want to hear your guys' opinion on Halsey. So, yeah, really cool. Again, thank you to all who have been listening. The interactions on Reddit have been sweet.
Yeah.
We have a Facebook now.
Oh, do we?
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about it
Spencer's so sad he didn't tell me. This is how I find out.
Well, yeah. It's because you know how I feel about Facebook,
Yeah.
bro.
You love it.
Yeah, I love it. So,
Wait, I can make you feel better. Let's end on a positive really quick. For that game that I was playing with you, it'll become my new segment, I think, at the Addies.
Spencer Reacts.
Spencer reacts to complicated issues.
Love.
I was trying to come up with like great stories. Like Spencer was the intel officer or agent of SEAL Team 6 and is directly responsible for the killing of Osama bin Laden. And then I was like, that one's too lame. I need to get better. So after a night of passionate lovemaking, MacArthur asked Will you return? I really like that one.
Yeah, that one's better.
Yeah.
That one's good. Oh man. Folks, we're on the social media sphere. Follow us on the Twitter at BattleBuddies4. We're on Instagram, not doing shit.
No.
We're on Facebook, probably not doing shit, but we're on Reddit and Twitter doing things.
Yeah.
It kind of feels safer there. It's kind of my safe bubble.
We'll be posting more. Instagram will be documenting more. We'll be posting more photos. We're doing a lot
we
of
just
stuff
got some
with
pictures
maps.
done today,
Oh, nice.
right?
I didn't look at it.
No, she took pictures of us today.
Oh, yeah. We got
Yeah.
pictures taken today.
Yeah. You guys will get to see what we look like
Yeah.
when we record these.
What's cool is that we're both parents of like young kids, and so like we look great at the end of the day, guys.
Yeah, I'm not exhausted at all.
No, and this garage is not hella hot.
Yeah. So I appreciate all of you who have been listening. Feel
Yeah,
free
thank you.
to, we're on all streaming services. So feel free to share it to your old man who doesn't know how to use technology.
Yeah.
Be like, don't worry, Dad. I'll help you. What else? We'll be here every Wednesday.
We will.
We've been
Thank you, guys.
we've been relatively consistent with that.
We've been good.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Thank you to the Battle Buddies Nation. You've made this possible. Go out and do wonderful things and don't cause violent. Hug people, bro.
Again, with the Marines around the world at 6 a.m, just hug the earth.
Hug. Oh, yeah, hell yeah. I like that. Hug the earth, dude.